This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Let's get rolling. We're going to talk about our streamers program today and all the new changes to it. So I'm going to start with sort of the goals of the streamers, and that was to take the strategic plan and sort of align it with the things that posts typically do and like to do and meet your local post needs. So it's taking the national direction, but making it so that you can do things at your post that meet your post's local needs. It wanted to accommodate for your size and preferences. We weighed the tasks within the streamers program in accordance with the desired impact. So the higher the impact, the more points that it gets, or the higher weight that it carries. And we'll talk about that in a second. This was the big one. We talked about this a little bit before we got started on streamlining and saving time. So just making it simpler for you to do what you want to do and not have to send volumes of paperwork and not have to scramble at the end of the year. Obviously, simplifying the evaluation and the administration of the program was important, and those were the main goals. So in general, we now have one streamer that encompasses all of the strategic plan goals. So there are 5 strategic goals, and the streamer accounts for all of them. We have one membership streamer, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. It's point size, a point-based system based on the size of the post. So the bigger posts are required to do more points because you have more people and can typically do more. The only requirement in this program is that you have to do something in industry government engagement. It is the #1 reason that SAME exists, and there are a variety of things that you can do. It could be something really big, like you do a full-on industry government engagement workshop, and you bring a lot of people to the table and you tackle a topic, you make plans, you find a solution, you write a white paper. Or it could be, something smaller that supports industry government engagement. It's flexible, so you do what works for your post, but you have to do something in IGE. And I'll guarantee you there's something in the program that you can probably do without much effort. This is going to now be part of your annual report. So all posts are going to be required to enter their activities. If you've recently done the annual report, you know that we ask for all kinds of things like, how many kids did you reach with STEM and how many hours did you spend doing volunteer work to support veterans programs, things like that. Those kind of programmatic things are now going to be captured in the streamer program. And then the quote end of year annual report will be largely financial and administrative. And then the annual report, obviously, the submission of that financial piece is required for you to earn the streamer. And then board oversees the evaluations. We're still working actually on the evaluator side of the programming. We haven't finished that yet, so that's more to come there. But essentially, we have a vice president who is over the awards committee, and ultimately they have responsibility for helping oversee this entire program and making sure that it's executed. So let's talk about requirements. And by the way, if you have questions, please jump in. I've given this a bunch of times, so I could probably do it in my sleep now, but if you have questions that I don't cover, please jump in and ask. Streamer requirements are that you complete that requirement in goal 1, which is industry government engagement. And then you can make up the rest of your point totals from any of the tasks. So if you were a post that loves to do STEM, there are lots of things that you can do to earn STEM points as long as you do that one thing in industry government engagement somewhere. At the bottom, you'll see, the number of suggested tasks in each goal and the total possible points. And I'll show you a tool that we created that can help you figure out where you are before you even start plugging stuff into the system. But as I said, based on post size determines how many points you need. Sort of went through a lengthy process with all of the possible scenarios to say, okay, if people did, posted sort of the, the relative minimum, where would they end up? So these are sort of the point totals that we came up with that said, you know what, a small post should be able to do 600 points without probably doing more than they already were doing anyhow, not last year notwithstanding. So there is all the requirements. So we now have developed an online system where you're going to enter everything through the dashboard to access the forms, and it's basically under each goal you put in your information, you hit save, and that's it. No more end of year, lots of paper, PDFs, copies of PowerPoint presentations. You don't need to do that anymore. We wanted to make it simple. So we wanted you to focus on the impact of what you're doing to support the task. You have about 250 words to do that, and I'll show it to you in a minute. It'll look just sort of like a Word document that you just type in, and like I said, you hit save. The best way we think to do this is just to go ahead and do it as you have activities. So roll through and see what you've done once you've had the opportunity to log in, and you could just start filling in the blanks now. You'll still have until January 31st of 2022 to fill everything in, but if you do it while you go along through the year, it just makes it that much easier, and you're not trying to remember what did we do at the end of the year. Talked a little bit about evaluations. The RVP has oversight over the streamer process. The national elected directors, who are elected by membership, they'll play a role in overseeing some evaluation teams. We'll have community of interest members in on this as well, as they look at maybe some of the technical aspects. The whole point of this do it as you go is also so that we can sort of have that, we call it reclama, which is usually at the end of this first evaluation of streamers each year, where there's a week-long period that the post who may not have earned a streamer they submitted for can come back and say, but wait, we think we really earned this streamer. We've eliminated that. Excuse me. If you do it as you go and evaluators look at them as you go through the year, if they have a question, they can come to you right away and say, can you give me more information or provide clarification on this? And you have that instant back and forth to know what more are they looking for to say that they think it meets the intent of the task. Now, the good thing is they don't get the choice of we're only going to give you partial credit. It's either all or nothing. So essentially, if they read what you've written and they agree, yep, that meets the intent of that task, they're going to basically check a box, and you're going to get all the points for what you accomplished on that particular task. Again, back and forth, some give and go. You can go back in and update things as needed. And then at the end of the year, we'll do a final review of everything and look at point totals, membership growth, annual report submission, etc., to determine final results. Okay, membership streamer. So this has been probably the most confusing thing for a lot of posts so far. The membership streamer is going to be based on the growth of individual members and sustaining company members, or if you have agencies. So if you have sustaining company member reps in your membership, they don't count towards the streamer. They're still members of your post. They just don't count towards the streamer because they ultimately have no control over their membership, quite honestly. So, and we're also membership based on individuals. We offer two types, right? We have individuals and we have companies. So that's how we're looking at the membership streamer now. So the earn the streamer, all you have to do is grow. You could grow, 22 in membership on the individual side and maybe lose one on the company side, but you still grew, so you'd earn the streamer. As always, we're still providing that monthly snapshot That's in the Post Resource Center. In fact, I think I just posted the March numbers the last week, so you can go take a look at that and see where you are. You know, it's a tough year. We haven't decided, obviously, yet what's going to happen with the streamers. Who knows? We might modify this like we did last year, but for now, you can go and look at all of that data. And again, just remember that's a monthly snapshot. So it's never going to quite equal what you see in your membership reports on your member post leader dashboard. But if you take your individual roster and remove anyone who has rep as their member type, you should get pretty close. We're still going to have distinguished posts. And to be a distinguished post, you need to contribute to all 5 of the goals. And it could be, you know, one thing from 4 goals and 20 things from the 5th goal, but you need to contribute to all 5 goals. You need to exceed your point total required, and you need to grow membership by 5%. And that's, again, like I said, combined. So planning for this year, even though we're already through the first quarter practically, I'm going to show you a tool that we created in just a second that should help you do some of this planning, where you can look at the things that you already do, think about, okay, well, what else could we do that's on this list that maybe we don't do, and add that to the mix, or maybe you change up something a little bit, and it gets you, you know, a few more points. The goal is really, you know, don't plan for necessarily more, but plan for quality, and plan for what makes sense for your members. We do have a survey tool, as well as a bank of questions that a number of posts have been using that can help them with their programming. So we've done this for, I don't know, probably a half a dozen posts. To say, you know, the post that said we're having a problem attracting members. So we said, well, let's find out what your members want. And when they've adjusted their programming to serve their members, they're getting far better participation. So if that's something maybe your post is struggling with a little bit, let's think about that. I can send you this question bank, and we can sort of pick and choose the ones that you think are most meaningful for your post, or to get information that you want from your post members. And I think the bottom line is that, you know, you might find out something different is needed. And if that serves the members, it's okay. You know, you can do different things now. You know, we don't want to pigeonhole you into saying you have to do this or you have to do that. And that was part of the flexibility of this new streamers program, was to give the posts flexibility to do what works for them and their members. All right, this is the planning tool I talked about, and I can bring this up live in just a minute. But it's essentially an Excel document, and it has each of the goals listed, and then all of the tasks within that goal and the points. So if you go through this Excel spreadsheet and you just move those points over, it'll total it at the bottom, and you can kind of see where you are relative to whether you are going to earn the streamer without a problem, or maybe you need to think about doing something else. You know, whatever the case. But this is available in the Post Resource Center. Okay, so now I want to walk you through an online demo. So let me go to the web. And we'll walk through the demo tool. So you should have received a special login. I sent this to anybody who was listed as a streamer POC and the president of every post. So we are going to pretend that we are the Buffalo post today. Actually, no, we'll do Walla Walla, since that's the one that has stuff in it. And you'll log in, and then up here in the top right corner, normally if you log in with your own information, it'll say, you know, your name up here, but instead it says streamer. So you'll click on that, and you'll come to this dashboard, and it says welcome Walla Walla. You're a large post. You have until January 31st, 2022 to submit everything. It gives some basic info about, remember, the size post and the points that you need. And then you can also download the objectives and task list if you don't have that handy. But essentially what you do is you click the goals. Okay, yep. And like I said, this is where that spreadsheet sort of comes in handy. And you can say, okay, who's filling this in? Name, phone, email. Continue. And here is objective 1, which is the big one. That's the industry government engagement workshop. It's worth the most points. And so you've got a description of everything. And then here is this, like I said, sort of Word-like document form that you're just going to fill in, and it'll expand, and it gives you, roughly 250 to 300 words there to fill in. But again, the focus you want to do is on the impact. So you don't need to include graphics. You don't need to necessarily include the white paper that you wrote for the workshop. You just want to say, okay, here's what we did. So the Walla Walla Post did an IGE workshop, and they did it with Lewis and Clark and the local USACE district and 3 county governments and the city of Walla Walla, and on and on and on. And okay, what were the outcomes? All right, we need to do follow-up. These are the things that everybody committed to do for that particular item. You would roll down to the bottom, click submit, and you can go back to the streamer dashboard and pick something else. So, yep, we did something in STEM this time. What did we do? Oh, maybe it was maybe it was something about enriching the STEM pipeline, and we wanted to grow student membership through our outreach. Okay, we put in Walla Walla participated in a STEM outreach program in the local school district, or whatever. Fill all that in. Again, don't forget to hit the submit button down at the bottom. And now if we go to this, we can see everything that was submitted, including probably the one we just added a minute ago, which is going to be way, way, way down. But you can see and then once you get to the bottom, it should show you a point total once it has been approved. So it's not necessarily going to be there now. Yeah, it's not, but it'll show you a total once your streamers have been submitted. And that's really all there is to it. Any questions about anything? Let me see if I can bring up the.
Hey, this is Roger. Do you have anything for us as far as then when they do the evaluation, how they're gonna actually look at those pieces? I mean, it's fine for us to put in, what we think we accomplished, but what are the reviewers looking for as far as if you accomplished what they expect? Is there anything out there that shows sort of what they're looking for? Over.
Essentially the whole point of it is to show that you've met the intent of the task. So if the intent of the task is, say the task is, providing a scholarship to a student pursuing an engineering degree, or whatever that particular one is, I don't know off the top of my head. We have some posts that don't provide scholarships until somebody's actually in college. Others provide them for a graduating senior. The way that it's written is the intent to provide a graduating senior, but if you're giving it scholarships out to kids who are already in college, does that meet the intent? Yeah, it meets the intent. The focus really is on the impact. So in terms of, you know, what they're looking for, it's really, what's the goal, and did you do something to support it and accomplish that goal? That's really the crux of it. We're not gonna, we don't want them to get super down in the weeds because, well, this post or that post does this. We want to look and see, how are we having impact with our strategic plan and the goals within that strategic plan? And every post is going to be a little bit different. So we will definitely, be telling them that, you can't evaluate post against post. You have to evaluate post against what's the goal. If the goal was to provide a scholarship and the post did that, and they've got the documentation that says, yep, we provided, Susie Smith, who is a junior at Michigan State University in their civil engineering program, a scholarship based on merit or based on need, whatever, that's meets the intent, right? Now, another post might have different requirements and put something in different, but it's really meet the intent of the goal and the strategic plan and contribute to it. And again, with the instant sort of what I call the instant reclama, if they have a question, they can immediately come back to you and say, hey, can you give me more information, or can you elaborate further? We've seen some streamers when they come in are very well documented, lots of information, and others come in and it's a little minimal. So again, the goal is to say, what's the intent, and do you provide enough information to say, yes, we supported this goal with our actions? Does that help explain a little better?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Jill, this is Lindsay McKenzie. Leaving it open for questions specific to streamers. If we do have a little time here, which it looks like we might, would you humor us in maybe giving us a high-level walkthrough of the strategic plan again? I know the Minneapolis St. Paul post, we've gone through it, but from our perspective, it kind of looks like it's a pretty substantial change from previous strategic plans in terms of approach and kind of where things are organized. So I don't know if you have a 5 or 10 minute walkthrough of just the strategic plan. I know our post would really appreciate it from headquarters perspective.
Sure.
But I don't want to take away from the streamers. If others have questions about the streamers, please definitely stay on this for as long as needed.
Well, the other place I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, if you go to the Post Resource Center, this is, by the way, always your best friend. Here you can see the streamer results for 2020. Those are done. And there's a link right here in the quick links. And then you can always roll down here, right? We've got the membership stats. So that's that sort of monthly snapshot. And then info on the streamer awards. These are the tools I was talking about. There's the planning tool right there. That's an Excel spreadsheet. And then this is basically the briefing that I just gave you. And then some general information about the streamers. But let's roll back up here to the SME strategic plan. This will open the fancy PDF, I think. Yeah. So the strategic plan was developed over the course of about a year. And there was input into this from a lot of different places. We definitely tweaked our mission and our vision, and we said, okay, so there are, as I said, 4 goals, or 5 goals, like just in the streamers. Goal 1 is industry government engagement. Goal 2 is resilience. 3 is developing leaders for the profession. 4 is enriching the STEM pipeline for the nation. And 5 is to prepare service members and veterans for the AEC industry. So those were the 5 goals that were determined based on a lot of input, including the the Post Leaders workshop 2 years ago, yeah, so 2019, we did a series of focus groups, and that was provided a lot of input for, in fact, moving some of these goals around in terms of ordering them, and things that were important to posts. So that's how these were developed. I don't want you to think that these were developed in a vacuum. But one of the things everything came down to was industry government engagement is the reason that SAME was founded. And so that became very prominently the #1 goal. So that's why it's goal #1. And resilience obviously plays a role in a lot of what our members do. Developing leaders for the profession. We know that eventually we'd all like to retire, so we need to make sure that we've got folks to come in behind us. STEM is just something that I think most of our posts love to do. I think if you ask most posts, do they enjoy doing STEM activities? And the answer is yes. And you see that in the kids that we send to camp, how many post support kids who go to camp, which is certainly part of goal 4 in the streamers. There's a lot in camps. There's a lot in STEM related and engineering related activities in the K through 12 levels, supporting student chapters, things like that. It's just something that our community really enjoys doing and does really well. And then obviously preparing our veterans for our industry once they leave active duty. That's another thing that we have a lot of posts that are very engaged with. And the interesting is we even have awards at the national level that support most of these activities. So trying to just get things all aligned throughout the society and seeking input throughout, from the communities of interest, from our post leaders, from obviously those folks that are on the national boards. That would be our VPs like Kevin. Everybody had an opportunity to provide input into not just only the strategic plan, but also the streamers. When we went through and developed the task lists and we asked people to rank them and weight them, we did that throughout the society. So, everybody was able to have a say. So this is a very collaborative effort to put this plan together to move us forward for the next 5 years. Other questions about the strategic plan?
Jill, this is a very quiet group, I think.
This is a very quiet group.
No, I'll leave it open, and I know there's a number of people from St. Paul, Roger Perk and Mike Tarpey, it looks like, are from Rock Island. Angie Richter from Chicago. Do you have anything, Angie? Any questions?
No, I don't think so. Just need to get our post diving in and working through it.
Yeah.
Jill,
So
if
you always access everything. Like the Post Resource Center really should be sort of your best friend if you're a post leader. Most everything you probably will need is on this page. If you can't find it, let me know. All these tabs sort of pop open. The other spot that you can always go is the document exchange, and you can find lots of stuff here as well. If you go under the second item, best practices, templates, samples for post, there's a whole host of information here. And in fact, even all the streamers from past years are uploaded here. So if you ever have a question about what did our post do back in 2013 for leadership and mentoring, you can go back and look for it. A lot of people actually use this for fellows applications. They come back and roll through stuff. There's stuff here on some STEM stuff, Of course, lots of membership related things. The membership COI populates a lot of this. I've populated stuff. If you need logos, marketing ideas, events, all that sort of stuff, you can find all that here too. But really, I recommend, this could kind of be your one-stop shop. Usually I try to change these up for whatever's, top of mind. So if you haven't done your annual report, you can use the template and then submit online. Change of officers, make sure you get those in pretty quickly, because that makes sure that people have access to the post leader dashboard, and also get our email relative to post leaders, things like that. So.
Well, Angie, this is Lindsay McKenzie. I'm glad to hear another post needs to dig into it. That's where we're at too in Minneapolis. So this is very, very helpful, Jill. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any questions, please ask.
I think go ahead. I think in a lot of ways this is a simpler process to get the streamers. It's different, and sometimes if it sounds too good to be true, people get a little leery. They kind of get gun shy, but it seems very straightforward. So Jill, I appreciate you presenting this. If you could send me the video as well as the question bank for programs, I'll share it with the Great Lakes Post. I think that would be helpful, and everybody, keeping good programs are always a challenge. So sharing any insight would be useful.
Yeah. Yeah, we've a couple of the posts that have done, sort of a member survey just to take the temperature and see what's going on, what members want, what's going to keep them engaged and interested and active. When they've acted on the results, they've been successful. Ride Mine Post was one of those a couple years ago, was not very active, and there were a couple people who said, no, we need to have a post here, and so they have really turned things around, and they are doing very, very well. They've definitely grown their membership. They took on the first IGE workshop on the torn issue that has been around with USACE for a while. So, and they did it all virtually, which was kind of interesting. So there are definitely opportunities when you survey your membership and find out what's interesting.
Hey, Jill, is that one out there?
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I go to industry government engagement. Yeah, here it is. There's the recording from their event under Discover, About, and Industry Government Engagement.
Okay, thanks.
Find that information there. Yep. Yeah, they've done actually 2 on that, I believe. They did a follow-up one not that long ago, but I haven't seen anything come through on that yet on what's going on there. So.
And Jill, did I hear you right that the headquarters has a kind of a membership survey template, or are each of these posts putting together their own distinct membership surveys?
Yeah, so we have a question bank. Let me see if I can bring.
So that's what Kevin was referring to for the, okay.
Yeah. Reshare my screen. Question bank. Give me a second here.
Maybe Jill, I'll buy you a couple minutes. Kevin, from your perspective as the regional VP, is there anything as our individual posts that you, from a regional level, would like us to take into account or into consideration, maybe?
I thought we were going to ask Jill all the tough questions. Now, I just would encourage everybody, and actually Lindsay is the one that brought this up. I'd encourage all the posts to kind of look into it, because I think to me, this is a simpler, more straightforward approach to streamers. It's something that once you get into it, you feel like it's achievable more. And so I just encourage everybody to take a look at it, because I think as I've talked to all the different presidents in that, a lot of the posts have a lot of great things going on. Some of them, it's what they do every year, and they're big events. So I think this is all very achievable, and I just ask that you take a look at it and don't shy away because it's new. And again, Lindsay, I appreciate you bringing this up so that we can kind of have this larger audience here.
No problem.
Okay, so this is the sample question bank, and there's a bunch of stuff on here. So some posts want to know, why did somebody become a member? This is always a good one. Top 3 benefits that SAME provides you. Another one too, for when we're in person, what's your preference for meeting location? For posts that are doing events, largely on an installation, we all know it's tough to get on if you don't have, the right ID, or you don't actually work on that installation. So that's something a lot of posts have asked. Time of day, what influences you to attend something. This is always the one I suggest to ask: what topics and events would most entice you to participate? And you can
Close is Katie.
don't have to use these particular answers. You can add, modify as appropriate. Joint meetings. I think you're a region that's kind of far flung, but some of the other posts that are closer together sometimes want to do joint meetings. That's okay. How satisfied are you with our post? How many events have you attended in the last year or so? And then the other thing too is, if you're struggling with finding leadership, we have a section that we could add about, hey, if you're interested in helping support the post in a leadership position, here are the a variety of opportunities for you. And you can customize those as well. Let people know, hey, we need somebody to serve as our STEM POC, or the secretary, etc. And then there's what I like to call the short-term or task-based capacity. So that streamer's POC is now a good person to really have, and they go in throughout the year, and they're the one that's responsible for filling in the blanks on the streamers, or that person who does the camp outreach, webmaster, things like that. And then it's always good to ask what kind of member somebody is. Are you in uniform, government, company rep, whatever. And then sometimes an open-ended question is always good as well. So, you can pick and choose, and we can put a survey together. I can give you a link, and you can push it out through, whatever your platforms you use. I can send it out for you from the national office. Maybe sometimes a combination of both works well. So just a thought for things that you might want to do to see what's of interest to your members.
Perfect. Yes, I think our post would find that very helpful. Thank you.
All right. I'll be sure to get that back out to Kevin so he can share it with everybody.
Okay, are there any other questions? Any of the folks that came on a little bit later? Again, we'll share the video with everyone, and then we'll share that question bank as well for some help with your programs.
Perfect. And those who are from here, from Minneapolis, St. Paul, will have a further conversation tomorrow.
Okay.
Lindsay's energized now.
Yeah, now I kind of have. I've been trying to wrap my head around this. All of our post has, so this is very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, this is
Excellent.
great. This is great.
Okay, like I said, if you have questions, something comes up in between, shoot me an email. It's usually the best way to get hold of me. But thanks for having me today, and everybody have a great rest of the day.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kevin. Thanks,
Bye.
Phil. Appreciate it.